Hello and welcome back to the Jigme Kelsang Show, or if you're new, welcome. Today I'm proud to bring on a very special guest, Canadian Premier League Vice President Media and Content and broadcaster OneSoccer, Kristian Jack, is virtually sitting down with me this afternoon to chat about all things soccer. Kristian, welcome to the Jigme Kelsang Show.
Jigme, pleasure to be on with you. Thank you for the invite.
No worries, no worries. I mean, what an exciting time it is for Canada soccer, isn't it?
It's a great time for Canada soccer. Obviously, you think about the major hurdles they've jumped over the last few months, right? Canada women winning the gold at the Tokyo Olympics, captivating the nation again, and then the men's qualifiers have just been so special, haven't they? In terms of here we are talking now about they're getting very close to qualifying for the Men's World Cup and not lost a game yet. It's been a pretty special moment. It's certainly been pretty special to cover it, and it's great to talk to people like you and your listeners about how exciting it is.
I mean, no doubt. I mean, and so that kind of leads into the first question about how do you see the recent success achieved by Team Canada in the World Cup qualifying games?
Well, I think it's been an extremely successful ride because the results have been there, but obviously the way that the results have been achieved, the way that you go out and get those wins, it's not just about holding deep and just hoping things come your way and, you know, bouncing the ball here or there. You get a look at the draw here or there. It's going out there and effectively putting your front foot forward in every game and dictating the way that you want to play. And it was a little bit difficult to do that in Hamilton against the US because of obviously they were tired and the fatigue and the situation of flying back from Honduras. But I still think they played a way to manage the game very well and stay in the game and then win the game 2-0. And I think they were the fair winners. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, Jigme, is that they kept it really pretty professional, as game managers throughout this whole process.
Absolutely. And, when I was watching that game against Honduras, I couldn't take my eyes off of Kyle Lauren. What a guy he's been, what a star he's been for Canada. When the team needs a big goal and big boost, he certainly gives it on and off the pitch, even despite being without Alfonso Davies. Let's be clear there. And so, how big of a boost and really a key piece Kyle Lauren has been, especially being without their star players for quite some time now.
Yeah, well, I think Canada has both Laren and Jonathan David as pivotal players who can score goals out of nothing, right? This is what we're struggling with around the region right now is the US is struggling to find that goal scorer. Mexico just drew 0-0. They're really struggling in the final third as well. And Canada has Laren and David, but Laren's been exceptional. He's been obviously the leading goal scorer now after his goal in Hamilton. Most of his goals have been one-touch finishes. He's got very soft feet. He reads the game very well and does all the work before he actually finishes it. Many people just see the finish, but his off-the-ball movement has been sensational. He's grown up a lot, over the last 3 or 4 years. He's been through some different times and difficult times personally, and he's just playing the best football of his career, and he's doing a great job in a very professional environment in Besiktas as well. And yeah, it's a pleasure to watch.
I mean, certainly, and you look at the squad that they have, but also more importantly, the lead role of John Herdman, and what he's done to really captivate a nation, and build a squad that really could make some noise in the World Cup, even though they may be up against some tough, challenging countries. I mean, you look at Brazil, you mean Germany, Spain, Italy, but I mean let's even talk about how Canada has sort of now become the soccer mecca world. Let's put it that way. I mean, after you saw Toronto FC landing that signing of Lorenzo Insigne, and now finishing Carlos Salcedo. So how does that sort of boost Canada's sort of focus of soccer as a whole, and how does that sort of change the landscape?
Well, the culture is changing very differently in this country. 20 years ago, people who loved the sport didn't have games to go and watch at a professional level. There was no MLS games. There was no Toronto FC Academy. There was no pathway for young players to come through like we have now with the Canadian Premier League. And so it was very difficult for fans to even find people that knew how to watch the games, who to hang out with the games and watch them. And the players had no chance, right? Very little chance. Those that did, and those that overcame the barriers that were with them, were phenomenal achievers because it was such a very difficult time for them to go around the world and become professional players. Now it's very different. Now with Toronto FC and the culture that's been created and the fact that you can go to Toronto or Vancouver, Montreal, watch an MLS game, or you can go to these markets in the Canadian Premier League, watch these young players developing as young professional players. There's a tremendous pathway for the Canadian game because they can go on now and they can produce at a higher level and go on to play for Canada. So, the TFC thing has been great. They've had ups and downs, but we saw it in 2017, the culture of winning and what that can resonate with people in this country. So Canada's next, right? They know, you're a winning team, you do well. That's how you get people to jump in, and it's been fantastic.
I mean, you're certainly right on that point. And when you look at Team Canada, and the preparations now that they're looking ahead to make for a potential qualifying spot in the World Cup, what sort of expectations do you have in terms of the preparation that they're trying to make for the World Cup? What do you expect from them moving forward?
Well, I think they got to get there officially. They know that. And after that, the plan will be just the same. It will be continue to try and stay unbeaten or stay at the top of the table. And then they're trying to battle their way through the world rankings because they are important, because they are evaluated in terms of how the pots are assigned for the World Cup. So if they can get out of pot 4 and try and get into pot 3, that will give them an easier game, theoretically. So that will help them. And then, that's the plan, I think. And after that, we'll wait till the draw happens in early April, and then the evaluation process starts again about how far they can go there.
Absolutely. And the draw is sort of like an unpredictable thing. Anything can happen. You can get the worst of teams or you can get the best of teams. Uh,
Right.
right. It's sort of like a lottery. It's a lot of like, all right, who has the best luck in it? And sort of that's the way it usually goes in these sorts of draws or drafts of which teams you get. So with that being said, when you look at basketball and hockey, and obviously soccer has been a long time favorite sport and popular sport. But do you think now that Canada has made so much noise, do you think they have now become the more popular sport than basketball and hockey combined?
I think it's difficult to evaluate something like that. I mean, I understand that, I think your generation and the younger generation are more in tune with soccer than any other generation prior to that. And they have access to watching it more games than ever. They have connections around the world. They can watch Messi or Ronaldo or Barcelona or whoever, PSG, Man United, whoever team they support. And, they have that connection. So the sport has definitely gone and grown in leaps and bounds. We still got a long way to go with the casual fans. The fans who are in the 40s and 50s, and in rural Canada, hockey is everything. So I think hockey is still the number one sport in terms of popularity, but I don't think it's far behind. And I think soccer one day, very soon, will be taking over that mantle.
For sure, for sure. And there's been so much different aspects and different perspectives from so many different people, and that comes with a lot of confusion as well. I won't mistaken on that. And so there's been a lot of people questioning about like how does Canada qualify for the World Cup on Wednesday, and how do they make their spot? So can you sort of clarify to people what sort of things that do Canada need to make in order to clinch it on Wednesday, to book their spot for the first time since 1986?
Well, to have it as early as Wednesday, they need the United States to lose at home to Honduras in Minnesota, which kicks off before the Canada game. That's the most unlikely thing that will happen. They need they need Panama to lose in Mexico, which is very possible, and they need Costa Rica to not win in Jamaica. So those are the things that would happen, all coupled with an away win in El Salvador for themselves. So all 4 games are happening on the same night. All 4 have ramifications for Canada. If Costa Rica would kick off the night early in Jamaica, don't go and win that game, and suddenly Panama lose against the United States against Mexico, suddenly the United States have to beat Honduras at home, and then we'll see. In many ways, I think they just don't care about that, Canada. That's for the media and for us to discuss. They just got to keep taking it one game at a time. And look, if they go and win in El Salvador and get a 9-point window and win a 6th game in a row, like the rest of it will take care of itself. They're going to get to the World Cup. They just have to make sure that they're in the right position for the next window. And in many ways, it might be a good thing if they qualify in the next window to carry that momentum forward and keep the motivation high.
Absolutely. And you talk about motivation. So let's talk about that. I mean, what are some of the main objectives Canada need to achieve to remain at the top of the table throughout these last 2 windows?
Well, I think it's the standard of play they're playing. It's the mindset coupled with that as well. The fact that they've managed games so well. And a belief that there's a real deep purpose here for them to not just qualify, but to go unbeaten. They feel like that is definitely on a very achievable goal now. When you go unbeaten against Mexico and the United States, you've got a pretty good chance of trying to beat the rest of the teams or go unbeaten as well. So, look, I don't think at the end of the day, if they don't go unbeaten and they still qualify, I don't think people are going to care too much about that. But internally, I think they do. And I think that they believe that they can keep climbing those rankings to get a higher position in the top of the World Cup.
Absolutely. And we talk about, what do we have to look ahead to? And that is the 2026 Joint World Cup.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people are looking forward to right now. And we can talk all about it, and we can say, this far into it, and we can get into the details and the nitty-gritty stuff. But when it comes to the 2026 World Cup, how huge of a moment and cultural shift do you feel it will be for the nation?
Well, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for it to be that. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done before that, right? Hosting a World Cup is not just about games being played on the pitch. It's great to welcome these countries to come into Canada. And my belief is that hopefully they come to Canada and they stay in Canada and they train in Canada and they prepare for the games within Canada and they mix within Canadian people and within wherever they are, not just stay in the United States because the training facilities are better and they jet in for a game and they jet out. So I really hope that happens. And there's a lot of work and facilities that need to be completed between now and then. I believe that can happen. But as you rightly said, if the work is done properly, the opportunity is there to maintain this very special opportunity with a once in a lifetime opportunity to host a World Cup and resonate with Canadian fans. Not only can they go watch these games, but also know that the world is watching matches in their wonderful country. And we've seen all around the world when you have an Olympics or you have a World Cup, how the scenes of that country can just do so much for the country because so many people are watching it from around the world. So that for me is an opportunity that cannot be missed for Canada and particularly Canadian soccer.
Certainly. And I know, there's so much excitement, and I know there's just so much, happiness among Canadians that we haven't seen in a long time. Especially, like during these times where everything's so uncertain.
So true, man.
And,
Yeah,
and you need some cheering in your lives, and
absolutely.
and I think Canada's team is definitely doing that. Even looking ahead to the Beijing Olympics of what's happening now, the uncertainty with that, and even though it's moving forward, there's still so much positivity happening.
Right.
Starting to see that. But anyways, I know you've got a busy schedule, so I mean, thank you so much for taking your time, and for this insightful and interesting conversation about Canada soccer. I had a blast, so thank you very much.
Jigme, I had a great time as well, my man. Keep up the great work yourself. And thanks for all your listeners and chat with you again sometime soon. Thanks again.
All right, thank you, man. That was the Canadian Premier League Vice President, Media and Content and Broadcaster for OneSoccer, Kristian Jack. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're new to my podcast, feel free to check out my show that is available on all podcast streaming platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes right here on the Jigme Kelsang Show. Until then, have a great day, and I will chat with you soon.